Dude, that real quick, that shit trips me out. That every time you record on Zoom, it says that in your ear. I don't need a robotic Siri talking to me like that. Hey guys, what's going on, man? Obviously, we're back again. This is episode whatever it is. We're not really sure because we did an episode right before this, and we've been drinking a little bit, and I've got sunburn, so there's also that. But on this episode, my brother John and I are going to be talking about cancel culture. Our opinions and our thoughts on it might be different than yours, might be the same as yours. You listen and you let us know in our Twitter. John, hit that motherfucking intro. I didn't want to get canceled right in the intro. That would be bad.
What are you doing right now?
Big V. Look, man.
All right, man. Let's just jump right into this shit.
I think we're getting canceled.
So,
I made my wife wake up and drive me there anyway.
you...
¿Es a major?
Pasar con eso?
Muy bien,
Pasar con
hablar
español.
español. ¿Qué pasó, papá? ¿Cómo estás? Any questions?
Now, when you bought that sweater, right? You just go, fuck it. I'm going.
That's
I'm
right,
going full
motherfucker.
Mr. Rogers.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Full Mr. Rogers. Won't you be my neighbor?
My neighbor.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Yo, one day.
All right, man. I'm going to cancel your ass if you don't stop.
Yeah, real quick. One day, this is going to happen. I've been thinking about this shit for probably the last 3 months. I want to do a podcast when where you and I sing, John. Like, that needs to happen, bro. Like, yeah, let's say fuck it and we pick a song.
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
What, singing?
I think I'm singing. Until my wife and my son look at me and they're like, what the fuck are you doing right now? Because it's not singing.
You know what you should do? Like, do a fake singing, like, and have Javi singing in the background. And you just, like, trying to mouth the words.
Yo, hey, look, I know we have two topics that we're going to talk about, which is cancel culture, and then we'll talk a little bit about the greatest soccer player to ever grace
the Ronaldo?
the pitch, Lionel Messi. He's close. He's very close, but not quite.
Not quite.
But Javi's, I got Javi, you know, summertime. I got him doing stuff. He's got to stay creative, even though he hasn't been this week. It's his first week out of school, and he hasn't been, so he's got something coming to him next week on vacation, my vacation.
Yeah,
I got a schedule for him. But one of the things is being creative and writing stuff, because he writes stories, he writes music. So he's writing a song. So I'm gonna have to reach out to your boy, friend of the show, Ant House. Yeah, because Javi's he's got a few stuff. Like there's singing, there's some rap in there, and I was like, wow, like why don't you do this more often? So we got to find the right beat, and I know just a person to create something for you.
We do.
So I'm gonna reach out to Ant when he finishes that.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Yeah, man. Shout out to Ant House.
So,
yeah, man.
But yeah, shout out to Ant House. But now let's get back on track.
Let's stay on it. All right, look. So the reason we've always conversed and talked about cancel culture, right? Like when another celebrity gets canceled. We always try to discuss it and our thoughts on it on our end. You know what? We need to just do a podcast, and this is something that like we could revisit every couple months when it happens to somebody else. Because I have my opinions on it, but before we get into like our thoughts and our opinions on it, John, can you give the people the definition of what cancel culture or what's the ostracism culture that it is?
Yeah, so I'll just read off of what Wikipedia, a trusted source, has to say.
Very trusted.
Cancel culture, very trusted.
Mm-hmm.
Cancel culture or call-out culture is a modern form of ostracism in which someone is thrust out of social or professional circles, whether it be online, on social media, or in person. Those subject to this ostracism are said to have been canceled. So that's probably the accepted term. I mean, yeah. And that's pretty much how I understand. I'm pretty sure that's how everyone understands what cancel culture is. Someone does something that the masses or certain people don't agree with, and we want to end their career and whatever it is they do for a livelihood. Cancel their shows, get them fired, etc.
The loser advertisers, all that stuff. What?
Yeah.
So I'll ask you first. Like, what are your thoughts on cancel culture? Like, there's people who are like, oh no, I don't think it's, I don't think there's that big of a deal. Some people are like, oh, it's gone too far. Where do you fall on it from your perspective?
I think so. The people that make, I'm not sure who makes the biggest deal out of it. Is it the more conservative people that make a big deal out of it, maybe white males. I don't know. That's me spitballing. It could be other people that make a bigger deal out of it, but lately that's what I've noticed. Or just the mouthpieces for conservatives, because
Right.
Candace Owens is also talks about it, and she's not a white male unless I need to get my eyes checked.
True.
I
Dinesh
think
D'Souza.
it's a
My God.
thing. Who's right next to Susan? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
then
think it's a thing. It's real. I think it's gone too far, right? I mean, we're talking about people have these movements or these protests to try to get someone completely canceled, i.e., losing sponsorships, getting dropped from a show.
directors of movies.
Not by directors of movies getting dropped from entire franchises if they're directing franchise like a big franchise. Um, like what the fuck is going on? I like and maybe this is not the liberal side of me talking here, right? Because most liberals will probably say, hey, we need to cancel someone. We social justice warriors, right? Is that, I guess that's what they're
Yep.
called.
SJWs, yeah.
But people are gonna say what they're gonna say. You don't have to agree with it. Uh, don't buy their stuff. Don't watch the movie. But to get to the point where you're trying to gather signatures or gather momentum to have their sponsors drop them,
Mm-hmm.
to their employers drop them. Uh, I don't know, man. It's getting to be too much, and which is crazy because this is coming from mostly, I think, it happens from the right, but I think it's coming mostly from the liberal left, where and we're left leaning on this show,
Right.
but a lot of it is coming from the left, where they're trying to kind of,
Overcorrect.
I don't know if censor is the right way, but overcorrect. And
Mhm.
that's probably what it is. It's an overcorrection where people have said so much crazy shit and they've gotten away with it. So now we are overcorrecting, sort of like the market is climbing and climbing, and at some point we're gonna have a correction where the market's gonna drop because it's hitting historical highs. It's the same thing with cancel culture. Like we're going so over the top with it that I think uh, like a correction, a reckoning, whatever you want to call it, is coming. Like this can't continue. At some point, then no one will be able to say anything, whether you're liberal, conservative, progressive, whatever.
Like it's
It's a little too much for me.
I agree with you that it's gone too far, right? But I try to go, and as you were talking, I was thinking, I was like, what was the genesis of this, right? Like, what was the cancel culture, the call out culture? What's the first thing that I can remember, right? And then, look, there might have been moments before this, but this is just me talking and take it with a grain of salt because I've had a glass of bourbon. I go
Yeah.
to Colin Kaepernick, right? About was this 6, 7? Well, how long ago was it? 6 years ago, 6, 7 years ago now?
2014,
Yeah,
15,
yeah.
maybe 6, 7
So
years ago. Yeah.
so they said the son of what was it? The son of a bitch deserved to get fired. That's canceling, right?
Yeah.
That's calling for him to lose his
Mhm.
sponsors. That's burning Nikes when he got to deal with Nike. Now I don't
Mhm.
have to say what side that was burning those Nikes, right? But
Right.
the door was kicked open with that with the cancel culture, right? Like where the left started was like, hey, Harvey Weinstein probably shouldn't be raping a ton of women. Hey, Bill Cosby raped, you know what I mean? Like that's where the genesis of the cancel culture started on the left. Now, do I have where I have a huge problem with the left being towards pro cancel culture is the retroactive cancellation of people, right? Like the thing I did,
Right.
thing I said,
Kevin Hart.
yeah,
One
Kevin
of them.
Hart. More recently, what was the name? Ellie Kemper from The Office, doing something 25 years ago. Like she was like in a pageant that the foundation that had the pageant was like historically racist, but they changed it in like 1979. Like I'm cool with like the backlash being about something I said right now, right? But so like if I said like
And this was 25 years ago. So she
some
was a 16-year-old when she competed in this, when she was
yeah,
part of this pageant.
100%. She was a child, right? Again, like that's where I have the
Yeah.
problem. Like if you have to go, like you could go 160 episodes back on my podcast when it was just me ranting, and
Yeah.
I'd be canceled for the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I was going ham on the other side when it was just like political rantings and ravings, right? All the shit that I didn't want to like type out.
Yeah.
So like that's where I have the problem with the left, but like the right complaining about it, they're constantly talking about, oh, boycott this, oh, can't, you know what I mean, boycott that,
Absolutely.
don't support them. Like that's also cancel culture. Like it's not just one
Mhm.
side, it's society. Like, oh, you didn't vote for my president, you're, you know what I mean, like you, how dare they, you know what I mean. Like I talked to a coworker of mine, a man who's, I was like, hey man, you listen to Chris Stapleton? No, I don't like that. I stopped listening to his music because he doesn't support my president. Like that's cancel culture, right? Like you decided,
Wait, so huh.
right? Like that's
Okay, go ahead.
that's how it works. Like if you don't like what somebody says, you just stop supporting them. The reason why businesses do it is not to offend you or hurt your feelings, you sensitive. I'm trying not to curse. I don't know if I've already cursed. You sensitive human beings. It's because their bottom line is being affected and their shareholders will be unhappy. That's the only reason they stop supporting this or they stop advertising. It's not because they care about your feelings or they think, oh, they're First Amendment. There's no amendments in a company. All there is a vision and a mission statement. That's it. And the mission statement is always make as much money as possible. Like it's politicized in the way it was like, oh, they're only attacking the right. Well, the right is saying some wild shit. So like my company's like, hey man, there's a lot of left leaning people and a lot of Democrats. That's where the money is. We're gonna go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
side with them because we can make more money with them.
Right.
Like it's that simple. Oh, that's just
Yeah, I mean, it's the left. That retroactive canceling is ridiculous to me.
yes, 100%.
Like you said, the stuff that I didn't even know. I had to look it up. What's going on with Ellie Kemper? What happened to Kevin Hart? Where he like
With James Gunn.
he I guess he yeah, James Gunn, but and Kevin Hart, where he was going to host the Oscars, and then he ended up not doing it for something that he did 10 years ago that he already apologized for,
Yep.
and then they're
I
just bringing
remember
him
the
back.
joke. I remember the joke. It was in his first stand up.
Wait,
Kevin Hart.
was it the one about like him being afraid if his son turned out to be gay?
Yeah,
Something
where he's like
related to
he
that,
break the doll over the
or was it
dollhouse over his
something
head.
else?
Yeah, it was that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what are we
I
talking?
laughed my ass off.
Yeah, like
I'm sorry, and I'm
sure did.
pro live your life however you want to live it, but it
Yep.
was just funny. I think if you're
Funny's funny,
a
bro.
gay person, I maybe you take offense to it. Again, I'm not gay, so I wouldn't know like I to feel a certain way about it.
Right.
Maybe I feel a certain way when certain jokes are made, but then again, there are jokes that I've heard about Latinos, Hispanics, Latinx, whatever term you want to call it, and you can tell if it's an attempt at being funny or an attempt at being an asshole, being a dick.
Yep.
And I'd laugh. Like
Yep.
funny is funny.
Funny.
And some people don't have that. But having said having said that about the left going back and being ridiculous, the right's been leading this cancel culture movement for a while, right? Like you said, it started with the one I recall is Kaepernick. And the leader of that cancel culture was, former President Donald Trump.
Yep.
He was all for getting this guy to shut the fuck up. This
Mhm.
SOB doesn't deserve to be in the league. While at the same time, he was the one that was putting out newspaper ads for the Central Park Five back
Yep.
in the day.
Mhm.
That's the same guy.
Yep. Same guy.
But so he's doing that with no proof, no nothing, essentially, uh, affecting the result. Like this, he was
Making his bottom
ensuring
line.
that these guys were guilty, and at least in the court of public opinion.
Yep.
Right. And then and then
And if they're not guilty, they're
leading
guilty
to
of
his
something.
presidency, or a couple of years before that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Which is
they're
what he
guilty
said.
of something. I mean, they were guilty of being black, pretty much. That's what it was,
But that's
unfortunately.
like
And that's probably where it led from. They're guilty of something because of the color of their skin.
yeah.
But at the same time, he's the one that's trying to cancel. So he does that, and then he tries to tell Kaepernick or teams not to, because owners, there is a period of time where owners, especially when he became president, they were afraid of making certain decisions or hiring Kaepernick or
To be
giving him a
called out.
trial
Yep.
because of how Trump was going to react.
Yep. Hence cancel culture.
Yeah, to be called out, and I mean, and he, yeah,
Dude, it's like
yeah. So the people that said it comes from the left, that there's snowflakes, they forget how it really all started.
Yeah. Like, dude, like if you go back, like the burning of the jerseys and the burning of the shoes, and you know what I mean,
Mhm.
so on, like that led to that cultural shift, right? Like I was like, and then there's of course there's people like, oh, but they did it, we could do it too. You know what I mean? That's a natural societal progression in my eyes, right? Where like I'm like, hey man, but they did it, like we're gonna, well, if they did it, we could do it.
Mhm.
Uh, you know what I mean? Like, look, the what's weird to me, right? Like, what's like the way we talked about the ostracism and the call out culture and stuff like that, right? But cancel culture and the cancellation of it to me has been happening
Mhm.
forever, right? Like if you do something at work that is deemed inappropriate, or you said something, you know what I mean, you said something that you shouldn't have said in a workplace setting, you lose your job. That's a sense of that's a version of cancel culture, right? Like your speech was like, because that's the rights, let's use the rights argument, right? Like, oh, my speech is being censored. Like, oh, I can't compliment a woman on her tits, or I can't, you know what I mean? I can't say something about this person or that person, or like make a racial joke about this Asian coworker or stuff like that I could lose my job over. Like that's the overall censorship, right? That they're talking about. It happens in the workplace every single day. It's respect for your coworkers and your fellow humans. Like
Right.
it's not like the cancel culture isn't the rape of
And I don't
women.
consider that cancel culture, right? That's part of your contract.
Exactly. Like that's part of you. That's part of your societal contract, right? Like it's part of your, like your workplace
Right.
contract, but it's part of your like you don't just go up to somebody and go, "I mean, you're a fucking dick," or you know what, you're an F word. You know what I mean? You're a, like Schultz said it. He goes, you're a maggot, but with the F in front of it. You know what I mean? Like those things you can't just
Right.
you can't just go out and say those type of things, because like first of all, why and how insecure are you? And it goes back to the Joe Rogan joke, where like if you constantly are attacking that, then you probably like it way more than you speak on it. You know what I mean? So it's cancel
Right.
culture has been happening forever. It's just I don't know, man. Like it's gotten out of hand. Like now, where like you're researching somebody to figure out what they said, and trash them that way and cost them future earnings. Like if that happened in the
Mhm.
moment, yeah, it's societal norms of now. But 20 years ago, things were different. I don't like retroactive grading, or like grading on a curve from 25 years ago. Like me and you should talk way different to each other than we do now. Now we have like a set parameter of jokes, right? Like we used to say some offensive ass shit,
Yeah.
John. Like if we recorded the podcast 25 years ago, we wouldn't be here, right? You know what I'm saying? Like we would be deplatformed.
No, someone would have seen this that I work with, and I probably would have lost my job.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's a very real possibility.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
100%. Like that's like there are just things like, look, we have the clip from the Kevin Hart, which is what really like threw gasoline on this conversation of cancel culture. And I thought he honestly had a really good perspective on it and a really good point of view. But Akash Singh on Flagrant 2, he said something else. Like it's
Mhm.
funny that it's Cat Williams saying the things that you're about to hear in a second, because he's the
Mhm.
guy that like fought a 17-year-old kid and lost. You know what I mean? Did a bunch of wild shit on stage, did
Right.
like all these questionable things, and it's like somehow was like saved from cancel culture. But like he has this thing to say now. But I was like, you know what? Sometimes a garbage can gets a steak. And to quote Jay-Z, you know what I mean? Like sometimes a message is delivered by somebody that you might not necessarily be ready to receive that from. And that's also a thing that's possible. You got that for the people?
Yeah, we're talking about, and it's the clip from, I think you said Kevin Hart. You're talking about the clip from Cat Williams, right?
Yeah, the clip from Cat Williams. We're not
Yeah.
if you don't know the Kevin Hart joke, go watch his first stand up. Was it what was the name of his first stand up? God damn. I'm a grown little man. I'm a grown little man.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, that dude works so much. He has so many. I don't even remember the
I
name
know
of all his stand-ups.
it's insane.
But I am gonna listen to his book on the way to Virginia on
You should.
Friday.
You
His
100%
first
should.
book is like 6 hours and some change,
Yep.
and we're gonna listen to it.
His
Yeah,
life story.
should be
I'm gonna
some.
be honest with you. I cried.
Yeah. Well, Well, that means that my son's gonna cry too.
Yeah.
He's
Well, I think your son related more to
sentimental.
the Joe Coy one because of his own story, right? Like because he's like
Right.
he's first Joe Coy is dude. Oh, that book was so good. I would re-listen to that book 100%.
Yeah, man. I mean, and Kevin Hart's the same way.
Yep.
It's not that they don't just tell jokes when he's on stage. They tell stories.
Yeah.
And that's, I
You
think,
knew
to me,
like
the
we
best comedians
yeah we knew the
do
like I
that.
felt like I knew the whole book before because it was in all his stand-ups. You know, you just get like
Mhm.
more deep. Like I didn't know that much stuff about Joe Coy's brother, but whatever. We're getting
His brother, his father, his
you know.
stepfather, like all this
Hey,
crazy
Bubba.
stuff. But yeah,
Hey,
let
Bubba.
me bring up the Cat Williams stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Bubba.
For sure, listen to that Joe Coy book. Mixed Plate is what it's called.
Yeah, mixed plate.
Yep.
Let me bring it up. You should be able to see it on screen now.
Yes,
Let me
sir.
see if you do.
I do.
Let me know. All right. And I'm gonna hit play. All right.
Do it.
If you hear the audio, give me a thumbs up. I'm gonna press play now.
Got it.
By the way, this is I think you already said it, but this is Cat Williams sort of his take on cancel culture.
Yep.
Here we go.
Without judgment and repercussion from cancel culture
If you ask all
distraction
of the
culture.
people that didn't make it to the NBA, if you ask them if we just lowered the goal down another foot, they will all tell you they'd make it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes the out of bounds, but the out of bounds got to be there, or you'll run up in the stands, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some of these things are for the benefit of everything. Nobody likes the speed limit, but it's necessary. Nobody likes the shoulder of the road, but it's there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
My point is, weren't all that extremely.
Good point.
They could say whatever they wanted to say. At the end of the day, there's no cancel culture. Cancellation doesn't have its own culture. That was people of color. That was us policing our own culture. That was people without a voice being trashed by people just because they had a bigger name than them and more money than them and a better office than them. They could sweep them up under the rug like they didn't matter. I don't know what people we think got canceled that we wish we had back. I don't even know who are they.
Mm.
It's done for the reasons it's done for, and it helped who it helped. If all that's going to happen is we have to be more sensitive in the way that we talk, isn't that what we want anyway? I'm saying your job as a comedian is to please the most amount of people with your art. So if you want to offend somebody, nobody took those words away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Dirty bitch ain't been taken away. You can say that, but don't call somebody this word when you know this affects all of these people. Don't use the R word when you really mean people on the spectrum. Don't say this word instead of saying autistic. Don't say this word instead of saying little people. Look, if these are the confines that keep you from doing the craft God put you to, then
All right.
He's right. What he like? I mean, it's true, right? If those words are what made you funny in the conversation and the perspective of a comedian, then you're not that funny, right? Then you're not that creative. If the R word was your punchline, then you know what I'm saying. And then where's the joke?
Right. And we've heard a lot of other comedians, and we're talking about established ones, storytellers,
Right.
people that have these callback jokes that talk about, yeah, earlier in my career I was going after these low-hanging fruit. It was easy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can make the joke about the Schultz said, the maggot with an F in front of it, with an F instead of an M. I can make this joke. I can make this joke about I can say this person is retarded so and so because of whatever. Like I can do that because it was easy, because it got easy laughs, and it's, you know what, it's okay, because maybe it's not okay, but it's at that time, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 15 years ago, whenever it became not okay to say
The N-word.
retarded, which, by the way, retarded is a medical term,
Yeah.
or at least it was, and then eventually, I don't know what they changed it to now. We used to, you and I would use it to
Yeah.
just make fun of people, or like
Yeah.
just to joke around with each other,
Yeah.
or friends, or
yeah.
not, we wouldn't do it to like be assholes to other people.
Never said it.
But it was a medical
one
term,
thing,
and now you can't even use it. Period. I think
one thing I could think
we
of
never
is,
used it as a medical term. We used it
No.
as
and we never, that I can think of, right? Like, look, we can only speak for ourselves. Like, I've known John 25 years, and vice versa, because obviously we know each other. We never said it in reference to.
if you've known me for longer than I've known you,
That'd be
there's
weird,
a
right?
problem.
I was watching you. I was like, hey, I'm gonna
There's
be
a
friends.
word for that, and
I'm
that
gonna
would
be
be
friends
really
with that guy.
strange.
Like, dude, like you were literally in
We're
the apartment.
friends. You just don't know that yet.
Yeah, we're gonna be friends, John. Right? We're gonna be friends. But you were like literally in the apartment across from me on the second floor, in the apartments. Um,
Yeah.
what's crazy about, like, that I can think of, and I was talking about it with my wife earlier. Like, I don't remember ever saying these like derogatory terms, right? Like, the art retarded, or the F word, or any of the words that like get you in societal trouble now, right? So like, it's somebody who would actually refer
Right.
to, that I can think of, right? It was always like, and I get like saying that we're using the maggot with the F is a term that like you use a term as weakness and stuff like that. But like, again, like, what
Right.
made me realize that isn't a weakness is like, I literally served with people who were in the LGBTQI community, like, that took that fucking note. There's nothing weak or less than about them in any way whatsoever, motherfucking ever, and there never has been. But when you're young and it's what you hear, so
Right.
like you pick up on that lexicon and you regurgitate it, right? Which is why racism is as pervasive now as it's been, you know what I mean, as it's been in its history. Like, it just, like, if it keeps being taught and learned, that's just what happens. But like, it's just, cancel culture is a reality, right? But it's not a one-sided or a one-way street for either the left or the right. It's a fucking highway, right? Like, it's all of us at some point deciding, hey, I don't like them anymore, I don't like this person anymore. Like, I had this, like I said, like, I had that conversation with my coworker, like this older white dude, and he was like, yeah, man, I don't listen to Chris Stapleton. I was like, how the fuck do you not listen to Chris Stapleton? You're from like Podunk, Florida, you know what I mean? You're like, first of all, you're a 60-year-old white dude. Like, I feel like Chris Stapleton is right up your fucking alley, right up there with like Hank Williams
Right.
and Tom Petty. I don't fucking know. I'm just naming old white dudes. Like, I'm sorry, but
Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash
whatever.
and shit. Yeah, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. That's a crazy bar though. That's one of the craziest bars. Let's just did that shit. But like, I was like, oh, I had to stop listening to him because he doesn't support my president. But are the same people in that ilk that are like, oh, that's the left is getting ridiculous with this cancel culture. They're going after Dr. Seuss and all this other stuff. I was like, but did you look into it though? Like, what did that whole Dr. Seuss cancellation mean? It was a couple books that the estate themselves decided were problematic. Like, it wasn't like who the first of all, what fucking 4-year-old is like, you know what, we're gonna cancel this, or what 42-year-old is reading Dr. Seuss and trying to, you know what I mean, and trying to find
Takes offense to it.
and takes offense to it. Like, I question how real those people actually are, and it's not just something that like one person gets upset, like, oh yeah, I want to be mad about that too. You know what I mean? When you look into it, like, yo, why the fuck did Andrew? You know what I mean? Like, why did this have to change? Why did that have, like, where does that thought process come from? Because that thought process doesn't live in me. You know what I mean? Like if I cancel friends all the time, dude, like the friends I used to have 20 years ago aren't the friends that I have now. You know what I mean? Like oh, this person's not gonna be a good friend. Like this person isn't gonna be a good girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, so on. Like, you cancel people every day in your life for the entirety of forever, and you're mad because they can't make $25 million from this one company, but they'll figure out a way to make 50 from the other. Like, what are we really mad at?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Dr. Seuss thing, I never dug deep into who, the reason for it. And like you said
You-
it, the estate made the
And by
decision
dig deep, it's
that
like
there are some books that
one Google
were
search, right? Like,
problematic.
that's the fucked up thing about it. Like,
I never looked into it.
Yeah, I know.
All
I
I
didn't
all
either.
I
My
thought
wife
was
told
they're
me.
trying to cancel Dr. Seuss. Like I was like, Dr. Seuss?
Yeah, I
Dr.
know.
Seuss?
The
Like I'm
original
looking at
rapper.
Dr. Seuss right now. The dude looks on Wikipedia. He looks like fucking Mr. Rogers.
Yeah,
And maybe he was racist, maybe racist as fuck.
Yeah.
But what books were racist? A
Yeah.
couple that the estate decided to pull.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
But Walt
decide to
Disney
just
out here
cancel
getting
his
bread.
entire yeah, we're
Like,
gonna cancel his entire freaking library, his entire collection of works. I grew up reading Dr. Seuss.
Yep.
And I
Your next in
never
hand.
in those books did he ever tell me to hate people that didn't look like me.
Well,
That
He went
like
out
I
of it-
said, that's the retroactive canceling of people. We're going overboard with it.
yeah, like it's if anything, Dr. Seuss made everybody different, so it wasn't a single. You know what I mean? Like the only person he ever made different was the Grinch. You know what I mean? And even then, he still, you know what I mean? He still looked like the Who's in Whoville. He just was mad hairy, son. Like
Yeah,
first of all,
the
and the
creepy
dude didn't,
smile,
and
the
let's be
creepy
real,
smile,
and didn't wear
the
pants.
facial gestures, but he was
and
mad
and
hairy.
he was butt naked. Like we're just expecting the hair to cover his balls. Like, what are we talking about here? Let's I'm just this is a random ass thought. But yeah, man, I don't like look, it's both sides are 100% guilty of cancel culture being a thing that's become societally normal now. But well, obviously look, I don't like and we don't like
Look, if we're gonna talk about cancel culture, if we're gonna
Is
talk
what we
about
talk-
sorry for cutting you off, we're gonna talk about cancel culture.
You're good.
Let's talk about like the liberals get they get the bulk of it, right? They say, oh, liberals want to cancel everybody. Like,
the
did
right
we
is better
forget
at it.
about McCarthy? And
Oh
yeah, did we forget about McCarthy wanting to cancel everybody because everyone supposedly people were communists and we're putting Japanese people in internment camps?
yeah.
Come
yeah,
on
yeah,
now, like that whole thousands of people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
No,
We don't
No,
want to. We
let's-
don't want. I guess we don't want to talk about Nixon and just criminalizing everything that people of color did, in every way possible.
yeah,
Facing harsher and longer sentences. We're not going to talk about that cancel culture. We're not going to talk about how it's harder for anybody who doesn't look a certain way with what's being advertised, being looked at as not attractive or beautiful. Like how deep do you want to go with this cancel culture shit? Like how far?
what's the original cancel culture? Not allowing black people to drink from white fountains.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a
Not allowing-
conservative thing. I mean, that's probably an all just it's not
All
just
white thing.
conservative.
I think it was
like,
all white thing.
both liberal and
yeah,
conservatives,
100%.
right? But that's
Yeah.
the original cancel culture, and then eventually it led to being more conservative than,
Not
than
letting-
liberal
Oh,
or
you could
progressives.
add in not letting women vote, right? Only
Yeah.
white landowners were allowed to vote for hundreds of years. Like what? How far you want to go back? Like
Just
how
because
do
we didn't call it cancel culture doesn't mean that's not what it is.
you exactly like
The
you were
term
literally
might be new, but the
you were
practice has
canceling
been
out-
around for a long time.
you were canceling out entire populations of people because they weren't what you agreed with. That's that's ostracism, right?
That's what
Like,
cancel culture is.
that's
Yeah,
what cancel
that's
culture
exactly what
is.
it is.
Fuck out of here, bro. Fucking hypocrites.
And the
bourbon,
left
though.
has fought the liberals, progressives have fought to bring more equality. It
Yeah.
was conservatives who led that. It wasn't called cancel culture in the 1800s and 1900s, and when there was desegregation and when women were allowed to vote. But that's what it was. That's what it is when the LGBTQ plus community.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep, that's right.
There's
You
a
got it.
plus sign there, so I just call it the plus community.
Yep.
It's when was it? It was not long ago when gay couples were allowed to marry.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's past.
Obama's presidency.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, and then I don't even know if that's still like fine. They're allowed to marry, but is it federally recognized as far as when you're talking
No.
about tax codes and stuff like that? When
I
you're
don't
doing
know.
taxes, I think that either they're trying to change that or it changed recently. I haven't looked into it, but I mean, all that stuff that didn't come from the left. It
Mhm.
was conservatives
Ooh,
trying to
what about
keep that from happening.
what about
No, you,
the entire trans community are pedophiles and they're gonna rape your kids in bathrooms. That's
that was the storyline.
no,
That's been the entire boogeyman story
no,
about that. Yeah,
yeah. So again, like
it's crazy, right?
what
But who's doing most of that stuff? It's been Catholic priests. I'm
yeah,
just saying.
100%. But they still out here building more
Um,
churches. They still out here building more
they
churches and
are. They
moving
got
priests
these
around.
mega churches.
Ah, dude, like what? So that you're fucking brilliant, man. Like what? So what do we refer to as cancel culture? Like, is it just when people lose
Say that
tens
one
of
more
millions?
time.
Nah, I said it once. You could listen to the episode and just play it back and like listen to it at half speed. But yeah, like what are we really referring to as cancel culture, man? Like it's a different animal, man. Like it's a conversation. But again, like people are gonna listen to this pod and they're gonna be like, oh no, but they're wrong about this. Like people see things through their own lens. Like we're not ignorant to that shit. Like you view your world and your life through your experiences, right? We're just sharing with you ours, and it's not to like go back and retroactively apologize for anything that offended you during this podcast because that's not what it is. But we're just telling you our perspective, and you gotta take like look. We're calling out. In fairness, we're calling out the left for being retroactive canceling, right? Like trying to go back on your subscription from
Right.
10 years ago.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And doing that because that's fucking ignorant and stupid. Like a human being has the ability to grow,
Agree.
change their mind, evolve. The way I used to think about things a year ago was different than the way I think about now. The experiences I've had now to a year ago are different. The one to 5 years, 10 years, and what I'll be like in 10 years from now. Like I'm not gonna be the same person. If I am, then that's a whole different fucking set of questions, and my therapy never helped. But you know what I mean? Like
you stopped growing and yeah, and
exactly.
evolving.
Like I thought that Kevin Hart joke was funny as shit at that time, and I still laugh at it probably, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like it's not because
I
like
still
oh
think it's funny. The joke is still
not
funny.
at no point did I think you know what I because again I'm not gonna be like you know what I am gonna break a dollhouse over a child's head. You think like Kevin Hart would actually do that? Like on some like you know what I'm saying? Like that's
I'm gonna tell you like this. I have two boys. One is in the Air Force.
Yep.
And the other one is turning 13. Jesus, turning. I have
you have a 13
my youngest
year old,
is gonna be 13. That's crazy.
13-year-old, yeah.
Yeah, and a 21-year-old. And I with both of them, I think I've seen that Kevin Hart special with them. Hell, I with my youngest one with Javi, we've seen the Chris D'Elia specials. Like the one thing I was watching it one time, and he walked in on the part where D'Elia was like, "Church is creepy," and he's like, "What?" And he heard that bit,
yeah.
And then we went back and listened to the entire stand up.
Yeah.
And he's a fan of D'Elia's comedy. I'll say
right.
D'Elia's comedy. He's a fan of D'Elia's comedy.
Yeah.
But with both my kids, I was like, hey, like I remember listening to the Kevin Hart jokes, and I think they've heard the joke, and they've heard the bit and stuff, and some of his other stand up because we listen to it on the car when we do road trips and stuff. And I kind of jokingly, but also seriously, like I was like, hey, like you know how you said Kevin Hart. If we're a reasonable person, doesn't think that Kevin Hart would actually break a fucking dollhouse over his son's head. And so I would have those conversations with my son, like when the bit was going on, I would be laughing, and then I would look at him. I'm like, "Do you want me to buy you a dollhouse?" And then they would look at me like, "What?" I'm like, "There's nothing wrong with that." But then I'll be like, "There's nothing wrong with that. Like, you're my son. I love you either way. Like, if you want me to buy you a dollhouse, let me know. We'll go fucking pick the Barbies out together and shit."
Yeah, 100%.
But
get you a bunch of cans.
So I would joke around with it, right? I would joke like, "Oh, we'll go buy the fucking Barbies. Let me know. Do you want you want the convertible Barbie? All right,
Malibu Barbie up in this bitch?"
And he's like, "Come on." I was like, "I'm just kidding." Yeah. I was like, "I'm just kidding," but really, like, you know that, like, I don't care whatever it is how you feel, who you are. Like, you're my son. I love you no matter what.
100%.
Like, I would let them know that. Like, I would say the joke, because they've heard it before, and I would joke with them about it. but I would let them know like, hey, that like it's just a joke. Like the thing that we just heard that I just played off of is
Yep.
just a joke. Like if that's how you really feel, that's who you really are. Like I, it's not up to me to it's not up to me to accept who you are. You
Yep.
are who you are. If you happen to be gay, if you happen to be bi, if you happen to be whatever, if you're trans, that's who you are. You're my son. I love you, and that's not going to change regardless of how you identify.
100%.
But yeah, like I made those jokes with them,
Yeah.
and
What you
like
do.
some we're at the point. At least I think it's easing off, but we were at a point for a couple years where like you couldn't even make that joke. Like they went back to Kevin Hart to fucking cancel him for
So
something he said
long
10
ago,
years
dude.
ago.
Yeah.
Like the
More
dude
than that. I
apologized.
think.
He said the joke. It was low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts. And man, again, it didn't start with the left, but the left is getting the brunt of it because of, and then they're the ones that are going back and retroactively canceling people. It's just, I don't know. I mean, where is it going to stop?
I don't know.
Where is it going to stop? Like I don't know if you saw the video about the lady in New York who went to a school council meeting, the one that I sent you on WhatsApp earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
And she's talking about how they're teaching
CRT.
we're not going to talk about it.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, that's another pod.
Huh?
That's another pod. We'll talk about CRT on another pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Critical race theory.
Yeah.
And how they're teaching. And look, whether she's right or wrong, she's obviously on the conservative side. On the she's right leaning, but the argument. Look, she was given time to speak, and you can tell that the folks that were part of that council were liberals. Easy to tell. And she's airing out her complaints. And I think one of the valid complaints that she had, at least, was the fact that they were distributing. They added some to the curriculum that wasn't officially accepted or approved.
Right.
And they were
Which is
teaching their
problematic.
kids certain
Which
things.
is problematic. Yeah.
They shouldn't have been because it was,
Yeah.
which wasn't approved. Right. It's problematic. And she's like, hey, we're teaching our kids this and that. We're teaching them to be good citizens, and so they're being told that they're terrible people just because they support the police. Supporting the police doesn't mean that they hate black people. That supporting the police doesn't mean that they approve of what happened to George Floyd or it's happening to other people. And so, look, she's if, depending on who you are, she's abrasive, right? She's a New Yorker. She's loud. She's outspoken. I didn't her voice, the way her voice sounded was fucking annoying. It was just
grating on
the
the
pitch.
nerves. Yeah, it was.
Didn't resonate with me. There's certain people that
I couldn't
it just
get
hits
through
a nerve. But
Yeah.
if you just get past that and actually, if you listen to like what she's trying to say, because she does get pitchy and all this stuff, and I said pitchy with a P. She gets pitchy and all this stuff.
I think dirty bitch hasn't been taken out of the lexicon. I think we're good.
According to Cat Williams, it has.
According
But
to
no,
Cat
but
Williams.
look, some of the things she made sense. Some of them were, it was a stretch. But then the councilwoman who was soft spoken, she was trying to tell her, hey, you don't have to be aggressive. You gotta quiet down. Like what is she doing? She's just being loud. Like you're in New York. New Yorkers are loud by nature.
Yep.
So I know that woman will speak like that to anyone if she gets passionate about whatever topic. And then you here as a councilwoman or whatever part of this group, this board member, well, let's not name names. Why? She named names of a teacher that went on Facebook and made it public about how he felt. So why is she not going to name names? It's a public school. He's a public school teacher. Why are you not going to name names about someone that said something in a public forum who's a public school teacher? Like you need to address that stuff.
Yeah.
And so
that's weird.
With that, like I was like, no, these liberals are going too far. Like whether this woman is right or wrong, you don't get to tell her to not name names or not talk
when
about
that name
this.
is already
like,
out there
giving her
publicly.
the platform to speak, to give her opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
so,
it was.
So the left, in that sense, goes too far.
100%. I think like look, this is just me like on a semi hot take, on a lukewarm take in my like I think when it happens on that side, right on the left side, and I'm not excusing it because it's 100% accurate. I think what happens is it's the overcorrection is a sensitivity to being called out for your complicitness and what's happened, right? Because things like that, decades of hundreds of years of institutional racism, of whitewashing of history books and all these things, there's a complicity of past generations right, that they feel guilty of. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not a white specific thing, right? Because I'm sure there were Latinos on those boards for specific times. I'm sure there were a couple black people on those boards on superintendent. You know what I mean? So on and so forth. Because you can't go. I'm assuming you can't go through every fucking superintendent in every school district. You know what I mean? And how that all works. So there's a complicity to the norms that happened. But if this parent is voicing their displeasure, that parent has the right to voice their displeasure with what's going on. Now, if that parent doesn't fully, they're paying taxes. That parent doesn't fully understand CRT, but once a teacher voices like, "Oh, look at what we're teaching" and shit like that, like, no, I have the right to react. Like the right and the left has the right to react to anything they say, but my reaction shouldn't be shushed or silenced because you don't like the reaction to it. You know what I mean? Like we gotta match energies. Like you can't go out here and say whatever the fuck you want, and then I don't get to say whatever the fuck I want. That's not how that works, because then we're not having a constructive conversation, and nothing is growing from it. Like I've had constructive conversations with family members that I don't agree with in any way. I was like, oh, okay, now I see where you're coming from. You know what I mean? Or coworkers. It was like one of my other friends at the same place that's super conservative. He's like, oh, Ben, you're not a liberal. I was like, nah, man, I'm a progressive. I mean, like, if you want to give me a label and give me like a quote unquote identity politically in that way, like I am, but I was like, that doesn't mean that like we're not going to be friends. He goes, no, you're not. You're normal. I was like, yeah, dude, because I think all sides are bullshit. Like, I don't worship at a cult of anybody. That's not who I am. That's not who I've ever been. I don't fucking idolize celebrity. I've met Dwayne Wade a bunch of times. I've never treated him like, you know what I mean? Like some fucking god. Like I've never, that's just not the way I'm built. That's not the way I am. So it doesn't work for me that way. So it's like, once I gets called out over the other, I'm not going to automatically side with the quote unquote side I'm on. And they're like, no, it's bullshit when things like that happen. Like, but you don't, just because you don't agree with that parent being loud, like, dude, like if I'm that parent, I'm gonna be loud as shit. Like when I get off these podcasts because of my headphones and I'm being partially deaf, my wife says I'm screaming the whole time because I'm naturally loud as a motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like that, I would be sure. So I don't like that. Like if she's making valid points, you address those points and go back to them and how you feel, like not how you feel, like what you think this really is, and give your perspective and have a constructive conversation. Silencing somebody for the sake of just silencing them is stupid and ignorant, and it shows the stupidity and ignorance on your side, not on theirs, regardless of how loud they're being. Like if you can't handle passion, then don't be in the conversation. You got to be passionate about your point of view to begin with.
Right. Yeah, and I get the point. Look, it was tough to listen to her because her voice is fucking grating. It was hard. And then I had to like in the moment, I immediately had to realize, that very moment when she started speaking, I had to remind myself, all right, look, she's a New Yorker. And this is not to say anything bad about New Yorkers. But a lot of New Yorkers that I've run into don't have that accent. Don't have that accent. But are you trying to call out your boy Danny?
Yeah, 100%.
Danny.
Fuck Brooklyn.
Jesus. But
not his brother. His brother.
They don't all have that accent, but a lot of them do. I've run into them. A lot of them do. And that's just how they speak, whether they're upset or not. That's just, it comes out. And obviously, if you become passionate or upset about whatever topic, it happens. I mean, I was just 5 minutes ago when I was going on my rant about it, my volume started going up.
Of course.
But I didn't have that New York accent, so it sounded differently. So her pitch in her voice, the accent,
very nasally.
Maybe the fact that I didn't completely agree with everything she had to say made it tough to listen to. But I had to listen to it because what are we going to do? Just, you know how what is that they say, like people from the South sound uneducated because of the Southern draw or the Southern accent or whatever, and you can probably apply that same logic to this particular lady that had that accent.
I think you'd equate that to like almost any accent, right? Because if it's not if it's not an accent you're accustomed or used to, you like I think like there's a part, and this is just bro fucking science like a motherfucker. Like we'll have a follow up and see if it's an actual bias.
And it is,
and it's science. A bias where like where the bias like you don't sound like me, so you must be full of shit. Like it's just that like that natural thing. I do like I'll give you. We'll go back to your thing in a second. Like my wife watches a lot of baking shows from Discovery Plus, right? I can immediately tell when there's a person on that show from Miami. dude, like up until I saw that show, I did not think people from Miami had an accent.
Crazy, right?
Dude, I was like, oh, she's from Miami, right? Or he's from Miami, right? Like you could hear that shit in a heartbeat. I'm like, and I was like, my whole life, I was like, nah, man, people from Miami don't have an
Yeah.
accent. You could hear that shit. It's like a mixture of Cuban,
Caucasian people from Miami have that same accent.
that same
because
accent.
I learned that when I went to Florida State. And I was like, what the fuck?
Dude.
I was like, oh, white people don't sound like that. They sound like this.
Yes, it's so fucking
They pick it
crazy,
up.
dude.
It's whatever it is, that mixture of Cuban people and Caribbean people and all that stuff.
And like
it's a
that Puerto
different
Rican
flavor that you pick up.
auto tune singing, there's that in there. You know what I mean? Like there's dude, like so much. But yeah, look, like with passion, to bring you back in your train of thought, with passion, you're going to naturally get loud. Like I have conversation with my wife. We're not even arguing. She's like, "Why are you screaming?" I was like, I didn't realize I was screaming. I'm just passionate with whatever the fuck I'm talking about. Like I'm not screaming. You know what I mean? Like it's just I'm just in that moment. Yeah, dude, I don't know. But nasally, pitchy voices get on my fucking nerves, bro.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough, but I didn't agree with everything she said, but she made some good points. I mean, again, once you start teaching stuff that's not on any approved curriculum, and you're as a parent,
that's unprofessional.
you're a teacher at a public school, and your taxes are paying for that.
Yeah,
you don't just tell her, hey, let's not name names. Let's talk about this at another time. No, that's the whole reason for having that board meeting and allowing taxpayers and people who have kids at that school to attend and voice their opinions.
That book or that
you don't have to agree with it, but you got to hear them out.
Yeah, that book or that lesson plan should have never been brought on school property. Because look, the pen is mightier than the sword. You know what I mean? Thoughts and shit can carry on forever. A moment with a sword can just be in that moment. It's weird, dude. That I don't understand how like that person, that school board member gets defensive about that, but not about the fact that like a teacher brought in something that wasn't approved by the school board. Like that's literally challenging your authority. You know what I mean? Like, nah, fuck you. Right. I'm gonna bring it anyway. That's a big fuck you.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
That's weird.
Yeah, and what she said was, you don't have to get so aggressive. So that's what she got upset about. The fact that she was getting loud because she was getting to the point in her argument that that she was passionate about.
You know what that sounds like?
The book that she mentioned that the curriculum was being taught that wasn't approved. What about that part?
You know what that sounds like?
But look, man, last night I saw a movie. Oh, go ahead.
We're both married men, right? Like you ever like have a disagreement with your wife and you ever tell her to calm down? Like that's the worst thing you could possibly say. Don't be so aggressive. Don't be so aggressive is right there on that cusp of the same kind of fucking
pretty much.
Like don't be so aggressive. Oh, I'm
calm
aggressive
down.
now.
Calm down. I am calm.
Yeah, exactly.
Calm down.
Yeah, exactly. What were you gonna say? Man, last time you saw a movie? Let's end it with this
movie, since I have the whole Disney Plus, the Disney Plus package, Disney Plus, ESPN Plus. What else?
Hulu.
With ads.
Of course.
Yeah. Raya and the Last Dragon.
Yes, I saw it too. I saw it.
You saw it?
Yeah.
It reminds me of what's going on, right? Like they want to bring back this whole. They want Kumandra. They want everyone to be one people again, even if it's even. It's one people, even though they're all different, but they're still one people.
Right.
And the whole divisiveness that's going on where everyone dislikes everyone. Like as soon as I was reading a book and Mel and Javier were watching it, but I was there with them and I started paying attention to the movie and it just reminded me of like how the situation we find ourselves in.
Yep.
Like, we dislike someone because they look different than us because we were told that they're
different or less
for why the world is the way it is. Even though we're still one people, like we are the human race.
Yeah,
we are the human race. But for whatever, and that's not to say that we've said it many times on the show.
Yeah, I'm
not the type of person that says I don't see color.
Yeah, it's very weird.
I see color. Like that's the whole point. Like you learn to appreciate the differences and embrace the things that we are, the similarities that we have. But because everyone has different circumstances growing up and to deal with once they do grow up.
Childhood is a motherfucker. Childhood is a motherfucker that forms.
Yeah, even though it's crazy. Yeah, that movie, even though it's for it's for kids, it's a Disney movie. It had, at least the way that I looked at it, sort of was making a social commentary on the times that, not just now. I mean, for however long it's been, before even I was born, the times that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, I also
and
like the
how,
commentary.
we can choose to focus on the differences,
Mhm.
or focus on being united, acknowledging the differences, but still being united and continuing to progress.
What I liked
Moving
about it is
forward.
at the end, I don't, but like trusting people, even you know what I mean, like even in spite of like what they've shown you, like understanding that like for most people there's a natural inclination to be good, right? Like it's not just like yes, there are some people who are complete
Mhm.
throwaways, right? Like serial killers, rapists, so on and so forth. But like
They are.
most people have a natural inclination to be good. It's their sometimes it's their surroundings. That whole nature versus nurture thing, right? Like it's like you,
Right.
dude. That movie was so good. Like when you like even thinking about it now, like that movie was a lot of a very heavy social commentary. Definitely something we recommend to watch. Did you want to touch on the you know me and my terrible segues because I know you wanted to talk about it. Did you want to
Yeah.
touch on the Messi thing? Because I know you're so excited to wear
Look,
Inter
man,
Miami
I,
shirt
I
now.
started.
You already got the pink on because that looks pink to me.
I'm not
It's lavender, right?
lavender, pink. It's all the same, right?
Yeah, about
So
that.
it's not a thing. It was something that was reported. It may not be real, but supposedly might be signing a contract that's going to have him play 2 more years in Barcelona,
Barcelona.
and 2 years in Miami,
Yep.
and then yeah, and then the remaining 6 years in as a an
Global
ambassador for
ambassador.
Barcelona.
Yeah, Barcelona.
I don't know if you've been keeping up. Yeah, I don't know if you've been keeping up with what happened with Miami, Inter Miami, and like the crazy
Yes.
like financial scandal that they had, that they didn't really have the money to, right? And
That wasn't even that they didn't have the money.
look,
So this
Miami is Miami. I would be happy to see.
I like first
Go
of all,
ahead.
jerseys are badass.
You know more than I do because
Yeah, real
you're an
quick. So
Inter
what they
Miami
did,
fan.
what they did was they had too many DPs. So they have designated players. They had 4 on their roster. They're only allowed to have 3. So they try to like find their way around it, and they couldn't. They got caught for quote unquote cheating. You know, I think designated players are stupid to begin with. I think you just bring the best players. I'm not quite sure. I have to ask my boys on that whole DP shit and the MLS. I think it's stupid. I think if you any roster can bring anybody, then let them. You know what I mean? Like if I can get fucking Mo
Right.
Salah to enter Miami or LAFC or fucking Portland Timbers, who gives you know what I mean? Who gives a fuck? Let them get let MLS compete with the best clubs out there. I think setting into the 40
Right.
Ps is stupid, but so they violated that rule. They had 4. They should have only had 3. So they were fined like $2 million, $250,000 specifically to Jorge Mas, which is a billionaire, not a big deal, but you know, 250 is 250. So that whole thing happened. But I was like, and then like in the same week of them getting that fine, they find out that the news breaks that they're gonna get Messi. So yo, like, we're about to get the biggest, like, the number 2 biggest player in the world of all time. You know what I mean? Behind CR7. Like, let's let that. No. Don't. He's
Number
not.
one. Come
No,
on, let's say that.
no. He's
Number
CR7.
the best player in the world.
Hey, real quick. How's Messi done in a final?
Look, hey, come on.
No, uh,
Come on.
wait.
Let's
What?
let's
Huh?
let's realize this, okay? Let's
What?
realize like
No,
you're a
we're not.
Madrid
Listen.
fan, and I understand that, and
No.
I might become a Madrid
But
fan myself.
he's also
Because I'm just a
Argentinian,
Messi
though.
fan. I'm not
We
really a
both hate
Barcelona fan.
Argentinians.
All right.
We both hate
Okay.
Argentinians.
Yeah, but you have to put your biases aside and realize just because that you're a Madrid fan doesn't mean that CR7 is better than Messi.
I have
all right?
the only
Leo is the greatest player to ever set foot on the pitch,
I have no allegiance to Portugal.
followed immediately behind CR7.
So you're like 1A, 1B?
No, you just have
do you have
allegiance to Real, and so for that reason, you're just immediately
but-
going to put Messi
I have no-
behind
here's the thing,
Ronaldo
I
in
have
any
no-
category, regardless.
We're having this conversation on another podcast, you son of a bitch. That's not we're not doing this
But
because we could do another 50
no,
minutes.
We're not. No,
We're not doing
Hey,
this.
by the way,
All right.
the reason why I heard about this was because I was watching Dan Lebitard show. You know,
Yeah.
they just launched on Meadowlark Media. They launched by
Where is it
having
on? I
a
wanna watch it.
24-hour on Saturday. They had a 20. It's on Spotify. They don't have they'll post video clips because Saturday they launched like their 24-hour show.
Yeah,
They had
they
all
did
sorts
like
of
a live
guests.
stream, right? That's where Pat Riley got fined.
Yeah,
for 25
live
grand.
stream for what? What did he do? What I
The-
heard parts
the
of it.
LeBron
That
thing.
was where the fine came from.
Yeah.
Oh, where he's gonna leave a key under the mat or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, it was a 24-hour show that they launched. They're still not putting up like live video, and I don't even think it's live on like you might catch it on TuneIn Radio or something, but you can catch it like after they post it up on Spotify. So any podcast platform you'll be able to find it. I don't know where you can find it live. I'm guessing TuneIn Radio or any. It might be on an FM station. I'm not sure. So I haven't
I'll
caught
check
it
it out
live.
on. I'll check
But
it out on.
that's where I heard about it.
on the
Greg
podcast.
Cody, like at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were talking about it, and so I was listening to part of it today, and I was like, wait, what? Messi's coming to the U.S.
Mhm.
And so I started looking into it. But they made a good point. Like Messi's greatest player to them, greatest player in the ever. You know, and they talked not that they were anything against Ronaldo, but they said Ronaldo would be a better fit in Miami. Like, what do we know about Messi? We don't know shit about Messi. Not that we know anything about Ronaldo, but Ronaldo's a personality, and he
Yes.
loves Miami, and he would be a better fit because Miami
would.
loves shiny things.
Yes.
And what more shiny thing than fucking Ronaldo?
Messi isn't shiny.
Like
Messi
they
is
were,
shiny.
and then they went off on a tangent. Like fucking Ronaldo could play naked. Ronaldo go play fucking naked. All he would have to wear is shin guards and his fucking cleats, and
Yes.
everyone would go watch him. They're like,
100%.
Labataro was like, fuck, I'd go watch him. Like,
Yeah, 100%,
but-
dude.
So Ronaldo would definitely be more Miami than Messi.
I would love for them both to be together.
I would be
Like that's my dream. That's my for one season. See, like Inter, like who gives a fuck who else is on the pitch? They probably won't win the MLS Cup because who gives a fuck about the MLS Cup? Sorry, but for like one season,
Yeah.
like to have Ronaldo on the left and Messi on the right, or have Ronaldo up as a striker, and just for like one season, 28, 32 games, whatever the fuck it is in the MLS, to just play together. I don't give a fuck how old. I don't give a fuck how old they'll be. Like I'll go to every stadium when they're playing. I'll go to every single game of those, unless they're during the week because I got to work, just to see that shit. Because it would be
go to an MLS game.
You know what I mean? Like, and the jerseys are cool. Like, yo, shout out to that. Like, look, man, they're trying to change the game. I respect it. I respect any innovator. I have me and Danny have a saying: if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. In sports, you're always trying to push that envelope to the hardest, to the furthest fucking line. So do what you got to do. But yeah, man.
Right.
I got nothing else, bro, because we could do 8 other podcasts about like the last 2 random things we brought up there. But yeah, cancel culture.
Could. Let's not do that.
Yeah,
That's why
cancel
we split
culture.
up our podcast to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. Cancel culture, final verdict. Both sides are guilty of it. But in our perspective, one side opened the door and the other side is like looking in the rear view for shit to find, which is just fucking ridiculous. My brother, you got anything else?
Yeah.
Also, I
I'm
did
good,
finish
man.
that. I did finish that glass.
I'm out.
Yeah, look at that
Oh,
shit.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
At least you're
good.
not working tomorrow.
I've been hydrating in between though, so I'm good. All right, guys, I got nothing else. Peace.